Verse 23 describes three events: kingdoms coming to an end, a bold and cruel king, and many people turning against God. Right now, I'll focus on only one of those kingdoms coming to an end, and that kingdom is America, also known as Babylon the Great. Babylon in the Bible was a place of fornication and abomination. Not to mention that they was doing God's chosen people dirty. I'm talking about the Israelites. America has stepped in the shoes of Babylon to become Babylon, with its cup running over with fornications and abominations. And yes, doing God's chosen people dirty. I'm talking about the true Hebrew Israelites. Us, who are now known as African Americans. So this Western Kingdom will be destroyed and replaced by the Kingdom of Israel, because its time is now up. The bold and cruel king who tells lies in verse 23 is prophesied to be the antichrist. And just like his father the devil, there's no truth in him. You all should know by now who the antichrist is that I speak of. And if you don't, it's your boy Trump. Trump has been the only president in the history of presidency to do and say some of the cruel and bold things that he said and done. Trump throwing paper towels into a crowd of people after a hurricane hit in Puerto Rico. Trump being bold enough to declare that if he didn't win the 2024 elections, that there would be a bloodbath. Trump being bold and giving the okay for his misfits to try to overthrow the 2020 elections. Trump being bold and calling the KKK and other white nationalist groups some very fine people. Trump being cruel and bold by saying that Haitian immigrants in Ohio was eating cats and dogs. And that was just a few of his bold and cruel acts that I just mentioned. The last event in verse 23 is self-explanatory. I found an article on the internet that says about 40 million people have left the church within the last 25 years. So I'm going to post that link too, so you go to it, look through it, find it, read it, all that. The version of the Bible that I'm bringing scripture to you from is the New Century Version, which is a basic children's Bible, making it easier to read and understand scripture. But I want to use that same verse 23 line in the King James Version of the Bible. For those of you who are saying, but Trump isn't a king, let me tell you what's going on. The Supreme Court wants to give Trump absolute immunity from prosecution if he was to win the 2025 election. And with Trump having absolute immunity, that gives him the power of a king. So if he didn't want to leave office when his time was up, who would be strong enough to force him out of office? He could sit there forever, or up until his lifetime. Let's get back to that verse. Fierce countenance here means that mean look that be in Trump's face all the time. Like he has no fear of anything or anyone. Like he's the toughest person on this planet. Now take a look at Trump's criminal mugshot. That's fierce countenance. Now look at Trump's face after the alleged assassination attempt when he raised his arm in the air. Fierce countenance. Look at that side-by-side meme of Trump and Hitler when they're making the very same gestures. That's fierce countenance. and he has no shame in nothing that he does or says. The next part of verse 23 of the KJV says, understanding dark senses means he's shrewd, underhanded, and good at getting over on people with wicked political policies, such as Project 2025. Let's get back to the NCV Bible with these next verses. Verse 24 says, the first line of this verse talks about Trump being very powerful, but a power not of his own, as if he gained it honorably. This particular power comes from the millions on top of millions of Trump's flunky followers, whom he used more lies and deceit to trick them into following him. Hence, the January 6, 2021 Capitol insurrections. Commentary on this tells us, and I quote, his reign is characterized by a fierce agenda against the Jewish people and their religious practices. Look at Project 2025. Though I didn't read all of it, much of it was highlighted and leaked online for us all to see. And none of it was good for us, in my opinion. Project 2025 eliminates the Federal Department of Education. It eliminates the Head Start program for poverty-stricken families, with many other agendas attached to the Project 2025 program. Project 2025 was created primarily for Trump's reign if he was to win the 2025 elections. This white supremacist manifesto will be the continued downfall of the black family structure. The last part of verse 24 is, just a friendly reminder, the coronavirus was deliberately released under Trump and his administration, specifically targeting us black folks, us African Americans. We all should know by now that Trump is an habitual liar. So we're not going to address that part of the verse. We're going to address the part that talks about the force that he'll use. A part of the absolute immunity that the Supreme Court wants to give Trump if he wins the 2025 election, they also want to give him control over the United States military so that Trump can shut down any political foes that he has, essentially using intimidation and force for his agenda. This particular line of verse 25 unequivocally describes Trump and his narcissistic personality disorder. And if you don't know what that is, here's the definition for you. Trump has such an overinflated sense of self-worth and importance that nobody can do it like him. Nobody is stronger than him. Nobody builds walls better than him. Nobody's more conservative than him. Nobody respects women more than him. Nobody knows more about death than him. Nobody's bigger and better at the military than him. Nobody loves the Bible more than him. Nobody's better to people with disabilities than him. Nobody understands the horror of nuclear more than him. Nobody understands trade better than him. Nobody knows more about taxes than him. Nobody knows the game better than him. That's narcissism at its finest. In the KJV, this particular verse says, "And by peace shall destroy many." There's a website that I'll put on my reference page and in my YouTube description box that shows all of the peace treaties that he's broken. Not only that, but the United States have been known to deceive many countries, like Africa, by coming in by way of non-profit organizations, acting like they being humanitarians. This particular part of the verse is talking about the antichrist, who has now been revealed to be Donald Trump himself, having the audacity to go against Christ. Trump actually called out Christ at that national convention when he walked out to 50 Cent's Many Men, particularly the lines that go, "And niggas trying to take my life away. I put a hole in a nigga for fucking with me." That was his way of getting that off and going against Christ. Trump will die by the hand of God himself.